Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are using the Johnson edition, and we turn out a poem 475. Doom is the house without the door. And many of us will go back to our study already of poem 234. You're right. The way is narrow and difficult to gate, and few there be correct again that enter in thereat. 'Tis costly, so are purples, 'tis just the price of breath, but with but the discount of the grave, termed by the brokers death. And after that, there's heaven, the good man's dividend, and bad men go to jail, I guess. Now, when we come to this poem, by the way, published in the Atlantic Monthly of March 1929, we've got maybe a poem about new beginnings, maybe it's something quite different. There's a whole lot of debate about what Emily is doing in this poem. It's a brilliant poem, and I'm hopeful that I can help you to find your own way there. Our assumptions that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've already worked through our set of introductory comments, as well as the preceding 474 poems. We just finished with 474, They Part Us Far Apart. If you have, then you already know, as we've referenced poem 234, that Emily is back to questions of seclusion. Maybe some have called this a recluse poem. Just to remember that Emily herself had created her own kind of separation. Was it a dungeon, referring back to the previous poem of 474, or was it rather a citadel of a kind? Maybe it's some kind of castle in the air, some kind of living up in a special vaulted place. It isn't clear exactly why Emily decided to withdraw, but here we're going to have some sense of that type of withdrawal. Is this another poem about Emily's commitment to love, or Emily's commitment to her poetry, or both? She'll begin with the word doom, but it isn't clear what she means here. Some have seen it as maybe a reference to heaven or paradise even. She'll say it this way. Doom is the house without the door, 'tis entered from the sun, and then the ladder's thrown away, because escape is done. 'Tis varied by the dream of what they do outside, where squirrels play and berries die and hemlocks bow to God. It is significant that the last word of this poem is the word God, and it isn't clear exactly what it is she's referencing when she says, doom is the house without the door. Let's remember, by the way, when we just finished of our study of 474, that we went to poem 640 and the referencing to the door there, the door ajar. And of course, let's remind ourselves that Emily herself, at the end of her life, would have some conversations with people from behind a door. So she would sit behind her door half open, and so there wasn't facial recognition or contact. So what are we speaking about? Doom and then later escape? It isn't clear. Some have said she's talking about boredom or ennui, that thing where you cannot get away from it, you're stuck in it. Some have argued, no, she's making a reference to what it means to die and go to heaven. Once one is there, one cannot escape. One can't get out and see what? All of the beautiful things of this life. Now, we've seen this already in several of Emily's poems, where she seems to believe that the heaven that she creates here on earth is better than some heaven in an afterlife, because in an afterlife there's so much that she doesn't get to experience of this world, and she loves that experience of this world. Doom is the house without the door. We immediately think, of course, of Sartre's classic No Exit. 'Tis entered from the sun, and some have argued that here she means death. And then the ladder's thrown away. Can't read this line without thinking about Jacob's ladder of Genesis 28:10 through 22. Because escape is done, and some have said, well, see, there it is. She's talking about death. She's talking about dying. Once it's done, it's done. Once you're in heaven, you can't go anywhere. She'll say it this way, 'tis varied by the dream of what they do outside. Now, who is the they, right? Where squirrels play. Notice her referencing here to things that are just so natural and can we just say, unimportant. Where squirrels play. Again, her use of the word play, I think, is a brilliant thing for us to study. She used that word 74 different poems. You'll remember that she was playing with, no pun intended, she was playing with the word play on 467. We do not play on graves, where squirrels play. And berries die. Notice again that it's brilliant the way she'll play this game of, it is true that in this world of nature, the squirrels will play, the berries of course will have their day and then they must die. And hemlocks bow to God. Now, of course, she knows that the minute we think of hemlocks, not only are we thinking about poem 41 and 291, but we're thinking about Socrates. When we get to poem 525, we'll play around with hemlock again. She says it this way: I think the hemlock likes to stand upon a marge of snow. It suits its own austerity and satisfies an awe that men must slack in wilderness and in the desert cloy. An instant for the hoar, the bald, Lapland's necessity. The hemlock's nature thrives on cold. The gnash of northern winds is sweetest nutrient to him. His best Norwegian wines. To satin races he is not, but children on the dawn beneath his tabernacles play, and Dnieper wrestlers run. Again, the use of the word play even in that poem. What exactly is she arguing in this poem? Well, I think her one argument is that it is hard to feel stuck and without the possibility of escape. Now, at 2b, what is it she's referencing with this doom? Is she talking about boredom? Is she talking about heaven? Is she talking about her own room? The scholar David Priest has actually suggested at 3a that it's possible that maybe a poem like this will remind us of Rumer Gooden's novel In This House of Breed, where a nun, of course, is enclosed and then is having second thoughts about, selecting the nunnery, will climb the abbey tower from which she, quote, could catch a glimpse of the town, of gardens, roofs, walls, windows, a shed, wheelbarrow, a hose, tools, sometimes a perambulator. The idea here is that she could see all the little normal things of life and be reminded of how much she missed and loved life. Again, we mentioned Sartre's No Exit as well. What is it that he says in that famous play? Hell is other people. Finally, a 3b. What was a time that you felt trapped? What was a time that you felt you were stuck in a house without a door and a way to escape? I hope Emily's challenging you to think. Thank you.